So I'm confused. Why am I confused? Because last week we finished up with the Parsha, the brothers come, Yosef is playing tricks with them, it looks like he's taking revenge. There's that and the other thing, all of a sudden comes to him Yehuda, and he speaks harsh with them, speaks very hard. And Yosef says, okay, fine, I'm Yosef. All right, I'm Yosef. What? What's going on here? So I would like to look at things a little different, because everybody looks at it all the time, the same thing. This was yelling, that was yelling. It looks like it was a fighting midrash. I don't like this midrash at all. When Menashe was screaming, I just don't like this midrash, I can tell you. I think we're missing the point when we look at things this way. Let's try to look at things different, and what does it tell us personally, and what Mussar we can actually learn from that. The parasha starts with the word Vayigash. מה זה Vayigash in English? Let's look at Onkelos. Onkelos, the Tirgum in Aramaic, says Vekarav, and he came close. He came close. Let's put that together. What's his name? Yehuda came to him. But Yehuda, let's look at this. When he speaks to him also in two ways. He speaks to him very politely, but yet very, very tough. What does it mean to you? It means that Yehuda is actually setting here a certain attitude, certain boundaries. Very polite, but yet frank. So he's defining boundaries. Vayigash Yehuda, and Yaakov and Yehuda came close to Yosef. Let's look a little back. If we look at Parashat Vayeshev, and when he talks about the brothers, when Yosef coming to them, the pasuk says, "Vayelech Yosef achar echav veimtzaem bedotan," and Yosef went after his brothers. Let's translate it. And Yosef tagged along his brothers. Vayelech after, he was going after. Vayiru oto merachok, and they saw him from a distance. Pay attention. Uveterem mikrav elehem veitnaknu lo. They saw him from a distance before he was able to do what? To come close to them. Here, Yehuda come close to him, and all of a sudden, Yosef says, okay, you know what, I'm Yosef. Is my father still alive? We can read it many ways. You can read it whichever way you incline, whatever comes from you, that's how you would tend to translate it. Let's look at it different. Those brothers were never seeing eye to each other. When it says, when they saw him from a distance before he got close to them, they did not allow, they kept a certain distance away from the brothers. That distance from the brothers caused them vayitnaklu elav, and they seek his, to harm him. Why? Because they were far from each other. Well, let's not talk about a distance that is a physical distance. Let's talk about a emotional distance. This is the first time that Yehuda come close to him. So he came close to him. Yosef falls apart. He can't hold the game anymore. And how does he do it? He sends away all the Egyptians because he doesn't want to embarrass the brothers, to show, in other words, we don't wash the dirty laundry out in the open. What do you learn from this? You learn from this that you need to be close to your brother. You can't be far from your brother, because the distance between the brothers will cause animosity. Really? Is this the case? Is this the case? Yes, it is the case. But that's defining only one boundary, one line. How about the other side? In order to be able to operate, we need boundaries, not boundary. We need the plural. Look at Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov and Esav were twins. We always like to make Esav the bad guy, this guy, and we fail to learn from it. I told you always, Esav is the first special education kid in history. The brothers were twins. Boom! Smack together. One is pulling the other one in the heel. This one is selling him the Bechorah. This one getting the Bracha. He's in his face all the time. They were like this in one house. It was impossible to grow. So they were very close, and that closeness, this extreme closeness, created animosity as well. But what happens? 22 years, Yaakov is in Lavan. All of a sudden he sees Esav. And Yaakov does not realize, he thinks that they still at each other's throat. Yaakov doesn't realize that time is a healer. Time is a healer. Even by greatest enemies, time does something. And the truth of the matter is, they see each other and they kiss each other. I know what the Midrashim says, but let's leave the Midrashim to the side right now. And he kissed him. And he hugged him. And Yaakov offers him, Esav says, don't worry about it, I don't need anything, I'm fine. What do you learn from this? You learn from this that you need to balance distance as well. And that's true to any relationship. It's true to any relationship between brothers, siblings. You can't be too far, you can't be too close. You need to allow some space to grow, to develop. The same thing with spouses, husband and wife. They can be removed from each other, but they can be choking each other, that one would constrict the development and the space that the other one needs to operate. You need to grow. And in order to grow, you need space. If that space is restricted, you created bonsais. We don't want bonsai. We want trees. That's how you keep the bonsai small. You restrict its growth. You cut the roots all the time, and you have this deformed tree. Or if you remember, we went to that spot, and with those miniature trees. The wind all the time comes there on that vista and Beacon Hill, and the trees are like miniature trees because the wind shapes them all the time small, does not allow them to grow. We need to keep this balanced distance, and that is the trick. That's why also many people get divorced. Why? Because they don't know how to keep, either they're too remote, and therefore there is a gap that sometimes grow into like the Grand Canyon between the two parties. And sometimes it's so restrictive. The one says, I can't take this relationship anymore. Leave me alone. I'm out of here. So how do we know how to keep the distance? How about us as a nation? Even us as a nation. Yes, we know that separation creates Kedusha creates holiness. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Vayavdil separated this, separated that, separated this, separated that. But He separated them in order for them to function. Vayerev, Vayiboker. Separate. There's going to be night and there's going to be day. There's going to be light, there's going to be darkness. In between you operate. You can't have darkness and light at the same time. It's very hard to live in let's say in the North Pole, whatever it is over there, when it's like sunlight all the time. There's never sunset, or the other way around. If you go to the south, it's always dark. In the same. You need to have sunset, sunrise. People next to the equator are more easygoing. It's more balanced. Look at the lights of Hanukkah. Each one need to be individual. You can't put them together in a ball to look as a bonfire. You need to be able to identify each individual candle. In other words, each individual candle needs light. Needs to be space. It needs to be identified. Yet, on Shabbat, we take the Havdalah candle. It has to be at least minimum 2 intertwined together, but to share one light. These are the boundaries in which you need to operate. They both need light. How do we deal with this? Even us as Jews, as a nation. We need to be separated, but not completely removed from the world. Ultimately, why? Because this is our job, to become light to the nations. I cannot be light to the nations if I am a candle inside a cave. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the boundaries for us. We, in order to separate, we need to be like the Havdalah candle. In order to create the light, intertwine. But when it comes to interaction with the nations, we need to define exactly the boundaries. And that's the battle of Hanukkah. The difference between the Jews and the assimilated Jews. Those who wanted to remain Jewish and those who want to assimilate, to become Greeks. In between you operate. It's a tremendous Mussar for us to learn. If you want a key to succeed in your relationships, you have to maintain this balance. Don't overchoke and overpower, and don't be completely removed. Okay? So it is a little bit of Mussar on the Parsha, and we put together also Hanukkah in it. I'm still like hangover from Hanukkah. I love Hanukkah. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and keep your distance. At a safe distance. Amen.